If you stand on the quiet shores of the Taman Peninsula today, you are standing at the edge of a city that still breathes beneath the water. Founded in the 6th century BCE by Greek settlers seeking opportunity beyond the familiar horizons of the Aegean, Phanagoria emerged along the northern reaches of the Sea of Azov in what is now southern Russia. Its placement was neither accidental nor marginal. It was deliberate, strategic, and ambitious. Archaeological evidence indicates that the colonists selected a location offering defensible terrain, access to inland trade routes, and a naturally accommodating shoreline suitable for harbor construction. Over time, however, the same waters that enabled its prosperity would gradually claim portions of the urban landscape, submerging streets, quays, and entire districts beneath shallow coastal currents. The sea did not conquer Phanagoria in a single catastrophic moment. It negotiated with it over centuries. Geological surveys and sediment analysis reveal a complex interplay of tectonic subsidence, coastal erosion, and long-term fluctuations in sea level that slowly altered the shoreline. Rather than a dramatic inundation, the archaeological record suggests incremental transformation. Structures that once stood confidently along the waterfront were progressively destabilized, repaired, reinforced, and eventually abandoned as the waterline advanced. This gradual encroachment has left behind a stratified archive where terrestrial and submerged remains coexist as complementary chapters of the same urban narrative. What makes Phanagoria extraordinary is not merely that it is ancient, but that it is divided between land and sea. Unlike legendary lost cities whose existence depends upon myth, Phanagoria presents a measurable, datable, and excavated reality. Portions of its residential quarters, harbor installations, and civic architecture now lie beneath shallow waters, accessible through underwater archaeological investigation. The site therefore challenges conventional excavation methods, compelling researchers to combine terrestrial fieldwork with marine survey technologies such as sonar mapping, underwater photogrammetry, and sediment coring. In this liminal zone between coast and sea, archaeology becomes as much a maritime discipline as a terrestrial one. Before it was partially submerged, Phanagoria was a thriving node in a vast network of exchange. As one of the principal centers of the Bosporan Kingdom, it functioned as a political and economic capital, linking the Greek world with the cultures of the Eurasian steppe. Imported amphorae, locally minted coins, inscriptions, and monumental architecture attest to a dynamic urban life shaped by trade, diplomacy, and cultural interaction. Material evidence reveals sustained contact with Scythian and Boeotian communities, producing a hybridized cultural landscape rather than a rigid colonial enclave. Archaeologically, this fusion complicates simplistic narratives of Hellenization and instead reveals a frontier society defined by negotiation and adaptation. Every submerged wall beneath the Azov Sea represents a former shoreline. By tracing these drowned architectural lines, scholars reconstruct successive phases of coastal retreat. Harbor structures now underwater once facilitated grain export, fish processing, and maritime commerce that sustained the city's economy. Their submergence provides a chronological marker for environmental change, transforming architecture into a geological instrument. In this way, Phanagoria becomes both a cultural site and a climatic archive, preserving evidence of how ancient communities responded to shifting ecological conditions. The harbor, once the city's proud threshold to the wider world, now rests in silence below the surface. Underwater excavations have uncovered quay walls, wooden pilings, and cargo debris sealed within marine sediments. Unlike many terrestrial ruins disturbed by later occupation, these submerged contexts often retain remarkable structural integrity. The sea, paradoxically, has preserved what it once claimed. Oxygen-poor sediment layers have slowed organic decay, allowing archaeologists to study maritime infrastructure with unusual clarity. Such preservation provides rare insights into ancient engineering techniques adapted to coastal environments. Coins recovered from the seabed speak of power, allegiance, and economic rhythm. Numismatic analysis reveals shifting political authority within the Bosporan Kingdom and traces patterns of trade circulation across the Black Sea region. These coins were not ritual deposits cast deliberately into the water. They were lost in spaces where markets, docks, and daily transactions once animated the shoreline. Their underwater discovery situates economic history within a tangible environmental framework, grounding abstract monetary systems in physical space now transformed by nature. Religion, too, left its imprint along a shoreline that would not remain fixed. Archaeological findings suggest that sanctuaries and ritual spaces once occupied prominent positions near the harbor, aligning spiritual life with maritime prosperity. As waters advanced, these sacred landscapes faced displacement. Artifacts associated with cult practice recovered from submerged zones raise interpretive questions about abandonment, adaptation, and continuity. Did worship relocate inland, or did rituals persist at the shifting edge of the sea? The material record offers fragments rather than definitive answers, inviting ongoing scholarly dialogue. Phanagoria dismantles the illusion that urban decline is always abrupt. There is no singular destruction layer marking its submergence. Instead, the city reveals a mosaic of occupation phases in which certain districts flourished while others receded. This pattern challenges dramatic narratives of collapse and replaces them with a more nuanced model of phased contraction. Urban resilience extended the city's life for centuries, yet resilience proved finite in the face of persistent environmental change. Underwater archaeology at Phanagoria is not a supplementary endeavor, it is essential. The most informative sectors of the site lie beneath shallow coastal waters, requiring interdisciplinary collaboration among archaeologists, geologists, marine engineers, and conservation specialists. Techniques such as remote sensing and underwater excavation grids have transformed methodological approaches, demonstrating that submerged heritage is not peripheral, but central to reconstructing ancient coastal societies. Phanagoria thus stands at the forefront of maritime archaeology in the northern Black Sea region. Sediment layers act as quiet witnesses to climatic fluctuation. Core samples extracted near submerged structures document cycles of storm deposition, flooding events, and shoreline migration. When aligned with architectural phases, these environmental indicators reveal moments of stress and adaptation. Archaeology here transcends artifact recovery. It becomes an integrated study of human-environment interaction spanning centuries. The city's partial submersion emerges not as mystery, but as evidence of measurable geological processes unfolding over long durations. The story of Phanagoria resonates beyond antiquity. Modern coastal communities confronting rising sea levels may find in its archaeological record a distant mirror of their own vulnerabilities. While separated by millennia, the fundamental challenge remains consistent. How does a society sustain itself when its physical foundation shifts? Phanagoria's gradual retreat inland, district by district, illustrates the limits of adaptation and the inevitability of environmental negotiation. What endures today is not a ghost city, but a stratified testament to persistence. Portions of Phanagoria remain on land, actively excavated and studied, while others lie beneath calm waters that conceal their outlines from casual view. Together, these zones form a continuous urban fabric, divided by circumstance rather than chronology.
The site's dual existence, terrestrial and submerged, embodies the complexity of coastal archaeology, where disappearance and preservation operate simultaneously. To study Phanagoria is to accept that cities are processes, not monuments. They expand, contract, adapt, and sometimes relinquish ground to forces beyond human control. The partially submerged remains beneath the Sea of Azov do not symbolize failure. They represent a prolonged dialogue between ambition and environment. In stone foundations resting quietly under shallow water, in coins embedded in sediment, and in harbor walls softened by centuries of currents, the ancient city continues to articulate its history. And perhaps the most compelling revelation is this: the sea has not silenced Phanagoria. It has
Massive
archived
white marble
it.
and
Through
limestone
meticulous
blocks
excavation
lie
and
toppled like
interdisciplinary
dominoes.
research,
The slow
archaeologists recover not merely artifacts, but trajectories, evidence of a community navigating trade, politics, belief, and environmental uncertainty. Phanagoria stands today as one of the most instructive examples of a classical city partially surrendered to the sea, yet never erased. Its divided landscape invites continued exploration, reminding us that history does not always rest on solid ground. Sometimes it waits patiently beneath the tide.
This detail shows the strong presence of Greek hedonistic culture and religious ecstatic cults that thrived in this international gateway city.
These are foundation deposits placed under temple columns by Bosporan kings to secure the favor of the gods and
These are not toys, but votive offerings praying for the safety of the diverse, multi-ethnic soldiers stationed at this.
The seabed is scattered with large, heavy basalt stones with central holes. These are
a massive 2-meter fall marble